Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ugly podcast. It's extra ugly today for reasons which will become clear shortly. Today, I mean, you know what I look like at this point, but I today am still in my very empty house that we have yet to decorate. Which we'll get there. We'll get to the decorations soon. And today I'm wearing my beige sweatshirt that has like weird kind of psychedelic sketches on it, which is appropriate. Yeah. So my guest today is amazing. They are an artist, educator, intuitive tarot reader, and the founder of ArtGurl, a creative community at the intersection of art, wellness, imagination, and self-discovery. Her work emphasizes creativity, play, and visual reflection as tools for self-understanding and wellness. After a decade of program development and interpretation work at the Smithsonian Institution, Museum of Modern Art, and the Whitney Museum of American Art, she founded ArtGurl, where she teaches members how to reconnect with their innate creativity as a tool for healing. Welcome. Would you mind? So much stuff. Would you mind introducing yourself with your name and your pronouns and a little description of yourself?
I'm so honored and happy to be here on the Ugly podcast. My name is Meagan Mahaffy. I use she, her pronouns. I am a white woman with blue eyes and blonde hair. Yes, it's blonde. It's not brown. And I have a nose ring, and today I'm wearing a white t-shirt with a little like tiger drawing that a kid drew, actually, and that was on my t-shirt, and lots of clunky jewelry.
I love it. You could hear that. The clunky jewelry. Awesome. Thank you. It's always an honor to share this space with other creative people who are also touting the belief that we should all make really bad art, and that art does not have to be any certain way or look any certain way, or achieve anything or have any use or value other than what you assign to it, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's such a hindrance when we look at creativity as a luxury or something that needs to be used to produce something that's like of value. I'm using air quotes there, because in reality, creativity is such an innate part of being human, and perfectionism can just like really get it just gets in our way so much. And that's why when you set out to make ugly art or bad art, I always say make bad art, then you just like you strip yourself of that need to create something perfect, and it allows you to just be in the creative act of making something, which is healing in itself, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, the healing that has taken place from like since I started making ugly art is I mean, as somebody who went to therapy, like talk therapy for like 10 plus years, it wasn't until I like actually started making ugly art and like getting into the muck with my feelings and like doing and making that like so much healing took place, and just like the progress and the actual felt experience of all those things that I had learned in talk therapy, but actually got to like feel and experience through my art is wonderful. Yeah. And we'll talk more about wellness and art. But first, I would love to know more about you. What's your kind of relationship to creativity been like through your life? I like to ask it as like, if your relationship had a story arc, what would that story arc look like?
I love the phrase of that question. And I think the story of me and my creativity would look like a really jaggedy line with lots of ups and downs and highs and lows. But if you picture a jaggedy line that's sort of like always on the upward trajectory,
Yeah.
like we're always getting kind of closer. And even though there's dips and divots, I grew up with a super creative mother. She was the ultimate crafty girl. We were always doing like crafts at holidays, and that was so amazing and joyful. And I have always loved art. So much so that I pursued it in college. I studied art and art history. And when I was in college in art school, I I did fine, but I was not praised. I was sort of, I got a lot of feedback that was about my technique, and compositions were sort of
Mm-hmm.
like not right. Again, I'm using air quotes because art is so subjective. And for the professors that I am talking about in art school they mean well. They're trying to train you. They're trying to teach you how to use different mediums and, get your work potentially ready to be in a gallery or collected by rich collectors. And so they are giving you this advice from a place of like love and care, but
Mm-hmm.
all I heard was like, my work is bad. I'm a bad artist.
Yeah.
and that kind of, as I kept hearing that, and as I also kept seeing like certain other classmates get praised for a work that I didn't think was better than mine, but like just sort of followed the guidelines better, I guess. I got further and further away from my identity as an artist, and
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just learned that I was better as an administrator. And so that's how I could stay connected to the arts. And so that's how I ended up working in museums, which was amazing. It was an incredible experience, 10 years in museums doing a lot of different things. But during those 10 years, I got further and further away from my own creative practice. And at the beginning, I would still paint, I would still express myself a little bit. And as I got more responsibility, it became harder and harder to make time for my own creativity. And until there was that breaking point of, oh my gosh, I'm so unfulfilled. I'm so burnt out. I am
Mm-hmm.
using really, really unhealthy coping mechanisms in my day to day life that are making it even harder to like heal. And
Yeah.
that's when that's when I guess you could say the creativity kind of like dipped back up and said, I'm here for you. Use me. I'm still in you.
Yeah.
And then I remember during the pandemic, everyone had a rough time during the pandemic, of course, but my
Yeah.
roommate and I were like, what are we doing? This is crazy. And we ordered a bunch of crafting supplies, and I got really into weaving, which was something that I never had done before, but I made like a cardboard loom, and I ordered some yarn, and I started getting into weaving, and I had all these like weaving projects all around the apartment. And that moment was when I realized that even though these weaving projects didn't look that good, they didn't really match the cute aesthetics that I was trying to do from Pinterest, but I felt so much better because I was creating stuff and I was away from my
Yeah.
screen. And I was like alchemizing my feelings through the creative act in a way that,
Yes.
yeah, in a way that like you can't do with just thoughts. You can't just do with like one certain tool. So that was the sort of aha moment where I said, "Oh my gosh," just like you were saying, I got to make bad art. I need to be creative again.
Yeah.
That's going to heal me.
Yeah. I love it. I know that feeling very well. The kind of rock bottom wait, like I'm so unfulfilled. What happened to this life that I was supposed to have control over and that was supposed to be fulfilling? Like I checked all the boxes. I did the thing. I went to college, I got a job, and things just still are not feeling right. I love that you like noticed that little calling of the art being like, I'm still here for you. Like I can help. I swear I can help. Just let me
Yeah,
help.
let me out. And I think it's so hard, like you said, when you're on a path that, especially when that at one point you did really connect with. Like I hear all the time that people it's so hard to admit you're unfulfilled by something that you once really longed for.
Yeah.
And that's where I think something like a creative practice can help you just like unravel those emotions. And even if you're not in a creative profession, or you're not, actually, I think every single profession is creative, but if you're not in the arts, I can say,
Yeah.
then you still can use this tool to help you like unravel it. So it might not be that your creativity will be like, you should pursue a career of telling people to make bad art. That might not happen
Right.
to you.
Yeah.
It
Just
can
because it
still,
happened to us doesn't mean that's going to happen to you.
and if it does happen to you, then reach out.
Yeah, please. I want to have you on the podcast.
But it can still be such a like deep tool for you to just understand a little bit more about what the changes that you need to make, and also to like forgive yourself for changing your mind, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like creativity is such a safe place to practice all of those things that are going on in your real life, because it's just a piece of paper with some color on it. There are no stakes here. So you can make it messy. So, like, all those stakes that are in your life right now that you're like, this is big and I'm unfulfilled and I'm stuck, you can like get unstuck on a piece of paper and like
Yep.
just notice what changes. Like, something small will change in you in the practice of making that bad art. And like, there will be like some like grace that's like
Yeah. That you give yourself.
inceptioned into your brain that you give for your art that you can then give to yourself. It's wild.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. It's like I always say creativity is a direct line to your intuition, because it's a chance for your brain to like check out a little bit and quiet your mind so that you're not so overburdened with all of your thought patterns. And we all have them, like all of the thought
Mhm.
patterns that you've picked up from your entire life all the way back to childhood. It always starts with childhood, but
Yep.
all those thought patterns that are still like clouding your thoughts and controlling your actions and behavior. And of course, like one doodling session isn't going to completely override all of your limiting
Right.
beliefs in one time, but with time, you will at least become aware of some of those things. And you can also start to build a little bit of trust in yourself again, which is huge, because
Yeah.
when we don't trust ourselves, we're so much more likely to fall back on old patterns, even ones that didn't serve us well. And that was certainly where I was when I was in the depths of it. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't change my behavior because I'll lose all my friends. I can't change my behavior because I'll lose my
Yeah.
job and I won't be able to pay rent. Like all of the fear that keeps you in this moment of like, well, what I've always done isn't feeling good, but it's better than not knowing what might
Yeah.
happen if I changed,
It's
even if like knowing is so much better.
yeah, it's better than the wilderness and standing out in the wilderness by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Cuz that's
But then
scary.
creativity can come in and be like, wait, let's imagine the wilderness. What could it
Right?
look
Yeah.
like? Oh, maybe it's actually not as cold as you think.
Mhm. Yeah, like maybe there's some really cool berries and creatures that want to be your friends.
And I guarantee that there are berries and cool creatures that want to be your friend.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, would you say that like the weaving was like kind of your ugly art origin story of that kind of like that's where that realization clicked for you, or was there another point in time where you realized like, oh, bad art is the answer?
It's so funny, and I do truly believe that bad art is the answer. I if I'm from the vantage point of this current moment, I
Mhm.
think that the origin story of bad art was like when I gave myself that title in college, kind of as a joke, like, oh, I guess I'm a bad artist. Like,
Mhm.
I guess I'll do the admin stuff. I um I had a conversation with a couple of good friends of mine, and they were the ones that reflected back. They said, it's so cool to see your your little scribbles and your doodles. And I was telling them about like my own relationship with art and creativity. And they reflected back to me, well, it's cool to see your process and to see your scribbles and doodles, even the ones that are not like, beautiful by the standards of Instagram or whatever
Right.
where we are in this world. And that was a moment where I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And I also, so that's one. And then two, from teaching workshops, I teach a lot of workshops about like creative wellness and expressing yourself with art. And I hear all the time, not as much now, but I used to hear all the time people saying things like, I'm not creative, I can't draw, I don't know how to do this. And the first thing that I always say is, well, creativity is not the same as drawing. Drawing is a skill that you can get better at. Creativity is an innate muscle in your human DNA, and it's something that's part of you that also can be strengthened, but it's part of you. So don't say you're not creative, because you are creative. And when there's the fear of starting because you have that belief that you are not good at making art, then making bad art is such a clear invitation to just start. And I'm so curious if you find this also, but I see this in my own practice and when I am teaching people to make bad art and saying things like, truly, like, try to make this look ugly. If you're afraid, like, make it look bad. Like, truly, like, scribble all over the page, like, make the face look wonky, like, whatever you're gonna do, try to make it look bad. Even when you're doing that, after you've worked on the piece for a little bit, like 99% of the time, there's at least part of the thing that you made that actually looks kind of cool, or you end up kind of liking it, or you're like, oh, now I have an idea. And the reason for that, I think I'm curious to hear if you agree, but I think the reason for that is because once you get over the fear of starting, creativity is so abundant that once you start, it will just strengthen. And even in one single session of art making, you can see that happen. And I have certainly seen it over the last 2 years of being really consistent with my own art practice. My like ugly, bad scribbles look cooler now.
Yeah.
And that's what happens because creativity is so abundant. And so if you just allow the space for it, then it's like, boom, that's all you have to do.
I fully concur with everything that you just said. Yeah. It is like, I love looking through my my ugly art journals from like when I first started to now, like, because it's like each one of those tiny decisions as I'm like, okay, let's see how bad I can make this. And each one of those tiny decisions was just information, just fueling in my creativity of, oh, this I kind of like, or I like this color combination, or I like how like these weird textures flow into these weird textures. And like those all informed what came next. And like it's fun to see how my doodles have like gotten more like bold or weirder or like just you can see like your own style and personality coming through the longer you do it. It's just like a snowball effect, and like that confidence comes with action and doing it. And
I totally relate to that I've seen that in my own practice too, and I see it in other people as well. Like, that's the cool thing about this, is that we are all so innately creative, and with consistency, we all, like, responding to similar prompts can come up with such different things. And that is so cool. Like, what a cool part of being human that we get to experience. That's amazing. And it's almost like if you're a people pleaser and you're having trouble with like taking up space, or like, oh, this isn't worthy, then this mindset shift of like, yeah, but other people want to get inspired by this ugly thing that I'm making, and it might resonate with other people. Like that can help like motivate you and to start to be like, well, this is not, it's not just like frivolous. It's me
Yeah.
sharing something from like the depths of my soul. Or if that feels crazy, then it can just be, it's me sharing something funny and quirky and silly that will potentially inspire someone else. And that's like the beauty of creativity.
Yes. Agreed. Yeah, like being able to turn off that people pleaser just by the simple statement of, well, this is supposed to be bad. So there's no one I have to please right now at all.
Exactly.
It's such a big shift, and it's such a cool way to subvert that perfectionism and be like, all right, my inner critic thinks that I'm bad at all of this anyway. Might as well prove it right and make it anyway and make it bad on purpose.
Yeah,
And
right.
then
And
it's
then
like,
you're like, then you can say to your inner critic, like, look, we're making something bad, and we're okay. No
we're
one's
okay. Yeah.
like,
I'm not dying. I'm not getting eaten by a bear or outcast from society. Like, this is okay.
exactly. Because our sweet inner critics need to hear that. I think they just
Yeah.
first and foremost need to be like heard and acknowledged. Like, okay, I hear you, and we're okay.
Yep. Exactly. And then practicing it, like, teaches your body over time, like, not to have that intense of a reaction anymore. Like that, it's like exposure therapy. Like, your inner critic will learn, and like, yeah, some of those messages might remain, but like, especially if you have that intense like nervous system reaction to the idea of making art or sharing art, the more you do it, the less that nervous system activates quite so much.
Yeah.
Like when I first started my business, I was so scared of even putting anything on social media was just like would activate my nervous system to the point of like panic attacks. It was
Hmm.
really bad. Like I was married at the time, and I had to have my ex-husband like push the post button sometimes because I was like, I can't do it. Like physically, my body was like, no, like I won't, I can't. Uh, and then yeah, with time, you learn, you like find safety in the ugliness and in the mess, and yeah, it's beautiful.
I love that, and I really relate to it. And I think another like reason why it's so good to build it into a practice is because when you're doing anything that's generative in this stage, then you can adopt the mindset of like quantity over quality for now. Like
Yeah.
that's how you're going to get to quality. And especially if, and I don't think it should be, your goal is not to like become the next Picasso, then you can use your daily art practice of making bad art as a like self-trust, self-expression, like microcosm where it's
Hmm.
safe and consistent and no one is making fun of you. And also it's like daily. So you've done one day and then you're already on to the next day, and you're like so far back in your journal you can't even see the ugly art that you made two
Yeah.
weeks ago that maybe at one point would have stuck with you and created this like I can't do it. It's like this try again, keep going kind of mindset that consistency builds so much self-trust in other parts of your life as well.
Hmm. Oh
And I
yes,
totally relate, like
absolutely.
this, like that's, I'm so happy you brought up social media because it just is a good reminder that this practice of like creating, whether it's content or bad art or like spreadsheets for your job or like new recipes that you're making, anything that you're creating, you're never going to be perfect at it the first try.
Yeah.
And if you think that if you're like, I'm not going to start until I know that I'm going to be good at this, then you're never going to start. And then you'll never
Mm-hmm.
change. And then you'll just wake up one day and be like, I spent my whole life feeling really unfulfilled because I was unwilling to take a risk. And
Yeah.
that's a choice.
Yeah. And the good news is that you can start making ugly art at any point in your life, no matter what is happening. That's one thing that I really love about ugly art, is that it's really accessible. Like, no matter where you are in your life's journey, like whatever your mental capacity, or like it is all going to be accessible no matter where you are in your life. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's so true. And also, you don't need anything crazy special to do it. You just
Yeah.
need any writing utensil and any piece of paper. That's
Or
it.
even just like a napkin. Like, you can like
Really.
creativity can be like folding things. Like, you can fold something weird and be like, look, it is nothing, but like I folded specifically to say like
Nothing, but I made it.
like you can make ugly art with literally anything. My girlfriend made me this little face out of I think it was plaster. She was doing like drywall on the bathroom walls,
Oh
and
my
this was just like
God.
extra plaster that she just turned into like a little face.
What a good
and
use of extra plaster. I love
and now
it.
he sits on my desk. I'll have a little picture on social media for you all.
It's really cute. It's really cute. You're going to love it.
It kind of looks like Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas. Um, but yeah, you can do it with anything, and it's wonderful.
Mhm.
So I would love to talk more about like how art and wellness work together. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to say, but one of my biggest goals, other than getting everyone to just make bad art every day,
Of course, everybody, everywhere, all the time.
which
Yeah.
is priority number one always. But one of my biggest goals with ArtGurl is to bring creativity and art into the mainstream wellness conversation. And part of that is because of my own experiences, like I was sharing earlier about like healing. For me, I really needed to embrace my creativity. And I really believe that the biggest connection between art and wellness is self-expression. And
Mm,
self-expression is something that we all need. And it's also something that is not always thought of as a first thing when you're like, what do I need to do to feel better? You might think I need to like exercise my body more. Maybe I need to meditate. Maybe I need to like eat different foods. There's so many things that can be really healthy for you and good as you're trying to make changes. But you cannot forget about expressing yourself, because that's like so key to how we communicate and connect with other people. And I'm sure you've seen this, but Harvard did a big study that was published like a year ago now, but they said the biggest indicator of a long life is community and people that
hmm
is like the people that you're with. And so loneliness is a real issue. And when it comes to connection, you have to connect with yourself first to really find the deep connections between yourself and others. And I think that creativity is and creation, like making something for you, is a really good way to practice that act of self-expression that can be so beneficial to you in other parts of your life as well. So it's all about practicing. And what I also want to say is that when I talk about art as wellness and creative wellness, it's not meant to like replace any other wellness tools that you're using.
Right. Yeah.
I am like big wellness girl now. I've turned a big corner. I went from big party girl to big wellness girl. And I've tried like every wellness thing that you can think of. I've probably tried it. And a lot of them I think work so well. And I think having options of what you can do to like connect with yourself as part of your daily routines is really healthy. And having art and creativity and self-expression as one of those options is really, really key. I'm a anxious person. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. But
Oh
in
yeah.
moments where I wake up really anxious, I'm like, here we are, making ugly I I really struggle with things like meditation and even journaling sometimes because I just can't get away from the intrusive thoughts and
Yeah.
even the like physical symptoms of anxiety. And when that happens, when I'm in that type of headspace, I have found that scribbling and truly like you, I know you get it, like
Oh yeah.
making or like not making something cute, like scribbling, making something ugly. I have found that the combination between expressing yourself with that and the somatic element of like getting your body a little bit
Yeah.
involved is really, really useful, and it helps me calm down a lot.
Hmm.
And so that is, yeah, I think that's a really important thing that a lot of people might not even know is available to them, because you don't have to be an artist or interested in being an artist to use this. And like you said earlier, creativity is not just art making. It can be like folding a napkin, it can
Yeah.
be cooking, it can be making up a dance, it can
Or like
even
how
be
you
like,
dress or
yeah, oh my
yeah.
god, ugly outfits would be so fun.
Yes.
That's so true though. Like all of those things are just like you're just expressing an idea
Hmm.
of yours. And in your brain, of course, like creativity is the same pathways that you're using to be creative are also used to problem solve. And so it adds so much to your brain. It like helps strengthen those pathways so much if you're practicing making some creative choices based on how you want to express yourself. It builds confidence, it can increase your self-esteem. The physical act of creating also has been shown to lower your cortisol levels, which makes so much sense as an anxious person because
Yeah.
I have seen that in my in my life. But then when you're doing that in a consistent way on the page or whatever you're doing to do that, then you really start to notice. And I think you and I are probably both two examples of like you can change your life in a really big, significant way that probably would have been scary like 3 years ago. Megan would be really like so happy, but also like, what? There's no way that that's what
Yeah.
we're doing in our life now.
Yeah.
But it's small changes that help you practice the act of self-expression and then
Hmm.
make it a little easier to like get into the bigger themes of your life that you want to shift or change. And change is
Oh,
scary,
yeah.
but it's like inevitable. And so
Hmm.
that self-trust can just help you as you're like riding the waves of life changes and all of that, even the good ones.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All of what you just said is so good. Yeah, especially like I love that you are drawing the connection between self-expression and creativity cuz um it really like getting into my creativity, I didn't really even think of it as self-expression even though obviously that's what I was doing, but like that makes so much sense in terms of like what I discovered about myself as I started delving into my creativity. Like that's how I, discovered that I was genderqueer and like that just like these things about myself of like, oh, I'm actually been like pleasing people and not being myself for a very long time and ignoring all these parts of myself, but like expressing who I am on a page like allowed that to come out and like that's when like
Yeah.
everything in my life changed drastically. And it is scary. Like at least like for me, I think this would be a really funny title for a book of like how ugly art might ruin your marriage and save your life.
Okay, I'm
because
pre-order that book right now.
because that's what happened to me. Like making ugly art ultimately ended my marriage. Like that's what happened.
But for
Well,
your greater benefit, it sounds like.
exactly. Like I now find myself in this place where I am like so like happy and like fully myself, and like I'm just experiencing all like connections with people, like community. Like I have community now that I feel so much more connected to than like the community that I had before, because I've been expressing who I actually am and not hiding those parts of myself. And then yeah, you get the community that you want and need from that. Like that's the end result. And like yes, you do lose people along the way, and like that is hard. It sucks. But it's
Yeah.
so worth it.
So worth it.
Yeah.
And that, like, I think that's where, like, leaning on a habit of self-expression, like making ugly art, like that just builds so much trust in yourself, because
Mm-hmm.
weathering a divorce is not easy. That's like a super traumatic thing to go through, regardless of the circumstances. Like, that's always going to be a hard moment, and it's going to require so much self-trust to like get yourself through to the other
Yeah.
side. And the thing with life is that you just never know what storms are ahead. Like there's always weather happening and changing. And when you can like build a base of security in self-expression, then it just makes those hard things a little bit easier to like weather through, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Oh,
good.
thank God for ugly art.
Thank God. Would you like to make some ugly art right now?
I would. Yes.
Yay. This is only going to be like 5 minutes, so I
Okay.
like to use like post-its or something small, but you can use whatever is calling you in the moment. And I can provide a prompt, or I did see that you have daily doodle prompts. If you
Yes.
want to share what your daily doodle prompt is,
Oh, I
then we
love
can do
that.
that.
Okay. Yes. Let's see what today's daily doodle prompt. Okay. 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 So every day in the ArtGurl portal, we post a daily doodle prompt, and obviously you're here on the Ugly Art podcast, so you know that they're not meant to be good, and so they are intentionally like silly. Sometimes they're introspective. Sometimes they're repetitive. Today's is silly.
Amazing.
The prompt is draw a bumblebee on a mission.
Ooh. Oh, I'm excited. Amazing.
A bumblebee on a mission.
Cool. All right. Oh no, my phone is across the room.
There.
That's all right.
Do you want to go get it? I'm
No,
ready.
I'm gonna ask Google to set a 5-minute timer for me, because it can do that, right? Yep, it sure
Oh
can.
yeah. Oh, technology helping us out.
All right, a bumblebee on a mission. Amazing.
Okay,
And then
oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm so happy that you're setting a time limit, because I think that's another thing that hinders people from creative expression, is that making art or doing a craft feels like a project, and it sometimes is, but you can also just do a 5-minute doodle. Like
Yeah,
it can just be 5 minutes,
it can be
and then
so
whatever
quick.
you have, that's what it is.
Yep, exactly. Oh yeah, yellow does not show up on a blue post-it note very well. That's okay.
And then you learn these things and you get to problem solve in real time.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is gonna be an orange bumblebee. While we're doodling, I know it is kind of hard to doodle and talk at the same time, but if you are able to, do you have any like favorite ugly art or bad art stories, or anything memorable from either yourself or any of the people that you've worked with? Yeah, that has really stuck with you.
Honestly, it's so healing to look at people's bad art in the like ArtGurl community portal, because for example, this prompt, like the responses to it already, it's just so funny to see how people interpret this kind of thing so differently. And it's really fun to see other people's silly little doodles. It's just they're so funny and they make me laugh so much. Like things that I would never have thought of. I once had a prompt that was draw a bunch of sheep gossiping. It was so much fun to look at the responses because some people took it like in a kind of funny route, being like, oh, look at, like, you know, they're like saying little things like, look at the black sheep over there. Some people took it more of like, oh, this is hard. Like, oh, don't worry, things will get better. Like, it sucks when people gossip about you, but it's not like, it won't be your turn forever. And it just it's like a reminder that everyone's experience of similar circumstances is so varied and different. And there's so many things that go on in your experience of life that can be truly conveyed in just this tiny little doodle.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be different tomorrow, same person, different circumstances. So I think that's like that's what I love about it. It's just fun to see.
Yeah. It's always something different.
Yeah. I wish I had a funnier story.
That's okay. This bee is vindictive and I'm excited.
I can't wait to see your bee.
Oh gosh, it is. So I just finished watching The Boys. Did you see that series?
Oh no, I didn't. I haven't watched it yet.
It is very graphic, very violent, and the premise, if you're not familiar, is like if superheroes were just like normal people who like didn't have like a moral compass, essentially. So it's like, yes, just normal people who can be very bad and horrible have superpowers. That's terrifying. Yeah, so it's kind of stemming from that.
That is a scary concept, and it sounds like it's kind of a good show, though.
Oh, it's a really good show. It's like if Superman were evil, and it's scary. This latest season was a little too close to home with, you know, where our country is currently politically.
I was going to say,
it was a little too real. Oh no, this is bad. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, it's like almost feels like there are some people that believe they are superhuman who are now in huge positions of power in our country.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh goodness.
That's scary.
All right, that is time.
Okay, let's see.
All right, here's mine. He is intentionally scouting out the most allergic person to bee stings, and then kind of zooming in with like laser eyes to go get that person.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's like, who can I hurt the most?
Where can I do the most damage? I'm on.
Okay, yes. Mine went in a different direction. She's taking her time on her mission.
Oh yes. Oh.
She's like, I'm getting there on time. But I was gonna draw some more flowers over here. Like there's something ahead, but she's enjoying the process.
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
amazing.
That was so nice. So healing to make art. Truly.
Yeah, I love it. I like to share those when I share the podcast episode and updates and stuff on social media. So if you want to send me a picture of that, I will have that up for people to be able to see.
Oh my gosh,
what we made.
I love it. I love it. Everyone's gonna love it.
Oh, so good. Any parting thoughts before we wrap up here?
I think if there's one thing that you remember from this podcast, then I hope that it's you are worthy of making stuff, and you don't have to be good in quotes at art to be worthy of self-expression, because we all are. And the more you practice that skill, then like the more your life will expand. And we have two examples right here of ugly art being a huge catalyst for positive change. Even when change is hard, it's like ultimately making change to like more closely align with who you are is always positive. And
Yeah.
this kind of like quirky, silly concept of make bad art is actually so profound in its simplicity, because
Mm-hmm.
all you have to do is create, and it will change your life. It sounds
Oh,
crazy to say, I'm
yeah.
like, but it truly will.
But it
Like,
does. Yes, it does. Like,
it really
yeah,
will.
I
Yeah.
know. I love it.
Yeah. Mm.
Thanks so much for being here, Meagan.
Thank you
Um,
so much for having me. This was such a blast. I had the best time.
Yay! It's so good. Where can people find you and support you? I will have whatever links you mention written in the show notes, so no need to spell anything out. But go ahead and say where people can find
Yes.
you.
ArtGurl is on Instagram. And that's where you can find out about the latest programs and stuff that we're doing. We have a community portal that I mentioned, which is free to join. And you get daily prompts every day with the goal of self-expression over perfectionism. So now that you've listened to this podcast, I know you're all in on that. So come join us. It's really fun. If you're in New York City, then I host lots of workshops around the city here in person that are a lot of fun. Those are all linked on Instagram. And we also just launched ArtGurl Academy. And so if you're interested in the deeper parts of creativity and intuition and the intersection of art and wellness, then ArtGurl Academy is a subscription membership program, and we meet on Zoom so you can join from anywhere. And it's all about learning how to use art to transform your life. And I'd love to have you. It's really good.
Incredible. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Go forth and keep it ugly. The Ugly Podcast is created by me, Laura Alexander of Scribe and Sunshine. It's produced and sort of edited also by me, and written and directed by absolutely no one. Our theme song was written and produced by the amazing Zoe Tronic. If you like the podcast, be sure to rate and leave a review on your preferred platform and share with the creative people in your life. If you're interested in learning more about what I do, head to scribeandsunshine.com to learn more about my ugly art workshops and my editing services. If you haven't yet today, I dare you to make that thing you've been thinking about making but have been too scared it's gonna be terrible. Make it terrible. And as always, keep it ugly.
You can do it. You can go create. Just get to it. I promise you'll feel great.